Now to Kentucky, where major recovery efforts are underway to help desperate families receive shelter, heat, water, and electricity following deadly tornadoes. At least 74 people died during the storms there, including 12 children. The youngest victim, just 2 months old. More than 100 others are still unaccounted for. In just a few hours, President Biden will travel to Kentucky, where he's set to meet with officials and survey damage in several storm-ravaged towns. Joining me now from Mayfield, Kentucky, to talk about more of this is Marvis Herring with our Louisville affiliate. Marvis, good morning. Good to see you. I can't even imagine the last several days you've had. Cleanup efforts have been underway for a few days now. What does the situation on the ground look like where you are at this point?
Elise, good morning. I can tell you it looks a little bit better, but I mean, it really is going to take a long time to get all of this cleaned up. We've seen them bring in some machinery, some dump trucks that have come in. They have scooped up parts of houses. They've scooped up, utility poles and really dumped those all into those dump trucks and taken those out of town. We've seen metal inside of that. A lot of the cleanup has been those big chunks, those big piles of debris that really were left behind by that powerful twister that came through here. But still, you can see this house behind me. This is what a lot of the homes still look like. This is what a lot of the streets still look like. Piles of rubble that may be homes. It may be furniture that was ripped apart by that powerful storm. And still, when you really make your way all throughout of here, it's kind of really a depressing sight to see all of the devastation that is still left behind days later. We spoke with some of the people who were coming to their homes, and they say they were just brought to tears when they come out here because they don't even know where to start when it comes to the cleanup and the rebuild, because it's just such a mess out here. But we have seen those volunteers come in, people helping people, coming in to get at least what they can salvage, and they've started there, taking out what they can, and then starting out with the little things, taking out pieces of wood, bricks, and things like that, pieces of housing, the siding from housing, and taking out what they can. But still, I can tell you right now that it's going to take a long time to really put a full dent in it. At least some of the city buildings are starting to look a little bit better. The courthouse here in town, it is looking a lot better than it was on that first day, but still a lot of these areas are still full of debris. The roads are at least passable. Many of them were impassable when we first got down here on Saturday. So looking a little bit better, but looking better from where it was. It's not saying much.
Absolutely not. It's hard to stomach that. Those home or what's left of those homes. Also, Marvis, we're learning the number of children killed in these tornadoes has gone up. 7 kids from one street alone. What more can you tell us about this, and how many people may still be unaccounted for?
Well, right now, we do know at least more than 100 people are still unaccounted for. Their loved ones desperately holding out hope that they maybe are somewhere that they can't get in contact with anybody. Maybe they don't have cell service or power or access to landlines. But like you mentioned, 7 kids on one street in Bowling Green. That's about 2.5 hours away from where we are right now here in Mayfield. They were also devastated. 11 people died in Bowling Green, but 7 people, I know even in Bowling Green, there was one area where 6 people from one family, they were killed in this these tornado outbreak that happened. And then 7 kids on one street. We talked to even a 9-year-old in Bowling Green yesterday who really just described some of his friends that he used to, get on the bus with, and now they're no longer, living, and even seeing some of his friends living in the school, sleeping there because their homes were destroyed. It's just absolutely heartbreaking when you know that the youngest person that was killed in this was just 2 months old. Then you see 4 years old, even just a 16-year-old that was killed in this tornado outbreak. It just brings you really to tears and just shows you how powerful this storm was. It showed no mercy, no matter how old you were. And then we heard from a woman who was holding even, a 3-month-old, a 3-year-old who died in this storm. So really the age is wide ranging, and it's still no less sad when you hear an 89-year-old who was killed by these storms. It's just hard to stomach everything that has really happened out here in different cities. You see the devastation in Mayfield, and though it may not look as devastating over in Bowling Green, you hear the lives lost, and you know that families are really hurting. Communities are all hurting and mourning their losses this morning.
Well, definitely mourning with them, those poor families. Meanwhile, President Biden is traveling to Kentucky today. What do we know about his visit?
We do know that he's going to fly into Fort Campbell first and get briefed on everything that's going on. But then his first stop will be right here in Mayfield, a hard-hit city. Again, lots of it leveled, many of the buildings no longer standing out here. And this will be one of the first times that we really get to see the president here in Kentucky. So this will be nice to see that he gets to see for firsthand the devastation and walk with FEMA officials, talk with people living here about what things used to look like. When you look at pictures of what the county courthouse, the police station, the fire station, even some of these homes, the streets, what they used to look like, even when you see what some of the trees used to look like, it's hard to even imagine how, or it's easy to imagine how powerful the storm was because it no longer looks anything like it. I talked to one man who told me he's lived here his entire life. He was older than 80 years old, and he told me that he was getting lost on some of these streets because of how much devastation there is and how similar all of them look when you look around and see these, these trees that have been toppled over, these homes that have been brought down to rubble. He said even he was getting lost out here, but we do know that the president will be giving some remarks. We had heard yesterday that he was not going to give remarks, but they have updated that saying that he will give some sort of remarks while he is here in the state of Kentucky. After he's done touring here in Mayfield, he will make his way over to Dawson Springs, another area that was hard hit here in western Kentucky, a rural town that lost many of its members as well, many of the community members, and still has people that are unaccounted for even this morning, days after that tornado touched down in Dawson Springs. So we know that he has at least 2 stops on his itinerary. Besides that, we do know that he has kept his itinerary pretty tight-lipped, but we know that the governor of Kentucky has asked that more counties be added to that federal emergency disaster declaration after more tornadoes have been confirmed, and many people are struggling to put the pieces back. So we do expect that he will at least be able to speak with local officials here to see if we can get those added onto that federal emergency disaster declaration. And of course, we will be bringing the very latest, having boots on the ground here, trying to talk with the president as well.
And we will definitely be keeping all of you all in our thoughts. Marvis Herring, thank you. You take care of yourself. We will have more on the president's visit to Kentucky as he surveys tornado damage and meets with leaders throughout the day. That's scheduled to begin in our 11 o'clock hour. You can stream all the latest developments right here on CBSN.